after 4 years, the Wano anime is officially over, and I think a lot of people will consider this one of One Piece's best arcs. So today I thought it'd be cool if I was able to talk about my personal favorite anime episodes from Wano. In order to meet the criteria, I'm looking for the overall episode in totality, so directing, animation, how it elevated the manga. You guys know the criteria of what makes an anime a good episode. In this video, I'm not going to include an episode that I liked a particular moment about, and if you guys want an example, look at One Piece episode 1074. I thought that episode had arguably the best fight sequence in the entire series, but that moment wasn't enough for me to say that the entire episode was one of the best that Wano was able to produce. Next week, I do plan on doing a video where I talk about my favorite moments of Wano, so if an episode didn't make it in this video, more likely than not, it'll be in that one. Also, I'm going to give credit to the directors, and not just them, like the animators and everybody who worked on the episode, but just to save time, I'm just going to shout out the director. But I do want to give a shout out to each and every one of the individuals that worked on the One Piece anime, specifically Wano, because they did a phenomenal job. But if you guys enjoy regular anime content, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. With that, mine is Potential Unleashed, and let's talk about the best episodes that the Wano anime had to offer.
Big news!
Episode 957, the chapters that it was adapted was 956, pages 2 through 17, and the director of this was Megumi Ishitani. She impressed the community so much after this episode being her debut that so many people wanted her to come back and direct One Piece each and every week. This episode consisted of what we learned outside of Wano, what was going on with the rest of the world. We talked about Sabo's disappearance, about Drake and Kobe being a part of Sword, and the biggest shock in this episode was the warlord system was being abolished. That was probably my personal favorite part because of how the different warlords was introduced with the coloring and direction. It was amazing. Episode 982 adapted chapter 977, page 8, 11 through 14, and 16 through 17, and then chapter 978, pages 11 through 17, and this episode was again directed by Megumi Ishitani, and you would think that she couldn't have gotten better from the last one, but this one was even better than 957. The episode expanded on the Straw Hats fighting before they got to Onigashima. We saw Luffy with a red hawk, Zoro and Sanji did their thing, and then the crew was standing in front of Luffy looking like an incoming Yonko caliber crew. They also extended the scene with the samurai on the way to Wano, including Oda, which made the scene more impactful, which is why the Straw Hats decided to postpone Jinbei's toast, and they decided to head on to Onigashima. There was also the Queen performance, which in the manga, I ain't gonna lie to you guys, I don't really give a fluff about it, but the anime with how it looked, it was movie quality, and I actually cared for it. Episode 1000, it adapted chapter 989 from pages 12 through 17, and then chapter 990 from pages 2 to 5, and this episode was directed by Kohei Kurita. What made this episode so special was that One Piece had hit the milestone of 1000 episodes, and typically whenever Toei goes and animates the episodes, it's 12 to 13 pages from the manga that they adapt, but in this one they only had 9, which you would think is a bad thing, but I actually like what they did because they highlighted each and every Straw Hat by introducing them and giving them a bounty along with what they've done in the series and having some of their important moments. Usopp, he did something that represented the episode 1000. I thought that was really cool as well. This was refreshing because it showed how far these guys have come since we first started this series. And then the episode, it concluded with the Straw Hats all together ready to fight, and we haven't seen something like this since Fishman Island. Not to mention, we got an updated version of We Are for a special 1000 episode intro, and also they updated the eye catcher. Episode 1015, it adapted chapter 1000, pages 5 through 19. Another Megumi Ishitani special. She directed this one, and a lot of people within the One Piece community say that this is the best episode that One Piece has ever had. There was a lot of things that were added in this episode, but the one thing that stood out to me included Ace, Sabo, and Luffy talking about their dreams, because this confirmed what a lot of people are speculating about us not knowing Luffy's true dream, as it was talked about a little bit more in the manga. When the worst generation came to the rooftop, a small detail that I liked included Prometheus when he went behind Big Mom and Kaido. That is why the scene changed red, in order to show the image of a sun reflecting on that. The episode ended with Luffy hitting Kaido with a red rock and claiming his signature phrase that he is going to become the Pirate King. Episode 1015, it adapted chapter 1001, pages 13 through 17, and then 1002, pages 2 through 17. This one was a little bit different. It was directed by two people, those being Kohei Harita and Nanami Michibata. I really like that they extended the different transformations from the Supernova Captain, so we got to see more Gear 5th, Punk Rotten, and Room. It also added more bickering between them, which I always enjoy. There's also Zoro, him cutting Kaido's blast breath. They kind of changed how it looked from the manga and added a lot more detail, which I'm a Zoro fan, so hey, I enjoyed that a lot. The to be continued screen was different as well. Towards the end of the episode, Luffy was punching Kaido with a Kong Gatling, and then the punches left an imprint on the to be continued screen. To me, this is probably the best episode of One Piece that involved fighting, and I don't think any other episode comes close. Episode 1061, it adapted chapter 1034, pages 2, 4 through 15, and then also chapter 1035, page 2 and 3. This was directed by Ryoka Nakamura. Definitely Sanji's best episode in Wano. Not only was this battle about fighting Queen and proving that Sanji was strong enough to be able to go against a commander, but it also was for Sanji's internal conflict that he had been dealing with since Whole Cake Island, which was highlighted throughout the entire episode, constantly bringing up Germa flashbacks, especially at the beginning and the end of the episode, where Sanji finally accepted himself and started looking forward to everything else he does have, including Zeph and the Straw Hats. Not to mention, the fight was amazing throughout the entire episode, especially once Sanji unlocked the blue flames of the Ifrit Janbei. Episode 1062, it adapted chapters 1035, pages 2, 4 through 17, and chapter 1036, pages 3 through 5. This was directed by Ryosuke Tanaka. Now, y'all already know, if I included Sanji's episode on this, I definitely had to include Zoro. If you guys originally read the manga whenever this fight dropped in chapter 1035, you know a lot of people were disappointed with it. This was because the fight was so quick and it felt a little bit rushed. Well, the anime changed that, fleshing out King's backstory a bit with Kaido and extending the fight, not to mention how beautifully animated was. King at one point, he looked like a final boss. The to be continued screen, it included a Z slash as a reference to Zoro from Mask of Zorro. Not only was this episode argued to be one of the best in Wano, but it's also been argued to be the best fight in One Piece. Episode 1071 adapted all of chapter 1044. This episode was directed by Tatsuya Nagamine. It was the episode that Gear 5th was introduced. It was so hyped that it not only crashed Crunchyroll, but a lot of illegal sites as well. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, it was all over the place. The only thing I could define this episode as is perfection. I can't say there's a single thing wrong with it, and I know people are going to try to include the Hiyori and Orochi stuff, love, but you can't blame Toei for this. You would have to blame Oda because that's where he decided to place their moment. There were so many different animation styles. The entire thing felt so natural. I love the added touch of going through the other gears before we saw the announcement of Gear 5th. This episode had so much hype and it definitely lived up to it. Episode 1076, it adapted all of chapter 1049. This episode was directed by Saitoshi Ito. This was the conclusion of the fight between Luffy and Kaido, and the final clash was definitely not dragged out. Kaido's flashback, seeing everything that he experienced and that his life was flashing right before his eyes, the 20 years of struggle that the people of Wano had to suffer through, everything was to be able to fuel Luffy to overcome Kaido, with the emphasis on Joy Boy the entire arc. It was really cool seeing Luffy defeat Kaido and then all the lanterns surrounding him in the sky. This is going to be a hot take. I know this episode was filler, but hear me out. This episode was directed by Kenichi Takeshita. Now, okay, if you were to tell me that there were episodes better than this one, I'm not gonna lie, I could kinda agree. But there's a particular reason why I'm including this one on the list, and it has to deal with Wano's ending. If you guys read the manga, a lot of people were dissatisfied with it and thought it was a little bit rushed. The anime adding this filler episode made it much better because we saw the 9 scabbards, how originally it was just Kiyomon that they had highlighted about Ashura and Ijo's death, but now we got to see everybody how sad they were, especially Kiku, because her brother died. I felt like that was missing, and the anime added that. Carrot, she had been traveling with the Straws for a long time, seeing her say her goodbyes. Zoro and Hiyori, they had moments throughout this arc. Sanji and Osame, they had moments as well. So seeing all their goodbyes, Luffy and Tama, how much she meant to him and how much he meant to her, how much Ace meant to her. Seeing everybody finally say goodbye and seeing how touching and wholesome it was missing from the manga, and the anime did a phenomenal job of portraying that. And these are what I consider to be the best episodes of Wano. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree in the comment section below, and what was your favorite episode from the Wano anime. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. It's on the screen in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to unleash your potential.